Oh, and we're live. Now, today is a pretty special day because just today I hit 1,000 bot subscribers. So there's got to be like billions and billions of bots just all over scrubbing the internet up. That's not the right word. That's not scrubbing because that would be getting rid of stuff. Swarming the internet, they're all over the place. And 1,000 of them have finally, oh, we got a bot. We just caught something. There's this thing the way they used to make bread. I don't know if you guys know about this, but there's like natural yeast in the air everywhere, all the time. And so the way they used to make bread, the way you make like sourdough bread, is you put flour and water in like a container and you cover it with a towel or something. And eventually, over time, as the days kind of go on, the yeast from the air gets mixed up into that, and the yeast will start to eat whatever it eats, the sugar or whatever. Like, do you have to put sugar with it? Or is it just flour and water? They have to eat something. Well, whatever. But there's like wild yeast that it catches. That's sort of what this channel does. Catches the wild bots from the internet as they kind of trickle in here and there. So there's one up there watching the stream. We'll probably get a bot comment pretty soon, like, go to this website for blah blah blah. Get those all the time. But today's pretty special because we finally got 1,000 bots to subscribe to this channel that I don't keep up with or do anything at or on. So that's cool. Now there's an actual so the spring break for a lot of the college and high school and middle school. It's spring break for a lot of people, and so I'm not doing as many lessons this week, and so that affords me a little bit more time to get back to basics in a lot of ways fundamentally. And one of the things I was working on, because I've been doing more lead playing lately, although probably not with the group that I played lead on Tuesday for free. It's just like a Tuesday night, couple hours of jazz that they don't have anybody else to play high notes, so I just do whatever I can. But I was kind of getting into that a little bit more. I'm not like a lead player, but I was kind of studying some of the fundamentals that you use when you're trying to get into the upper register or just being a more efficient player. And a couple of the concepts that I thought were interesting that I'm revisiting is to do with the air column. I actually downloaded the Reinhardt Encyclopedia for trumpet. I think it's called the Encyclopedia of the Pivot or whatever the heck by Reinhardt. Encyclopedia of the Pivot System. All right, so I wanted to kind of go through and just kind of play from scratch, warm up on the channel, and start to incorporate that idea. That's it. So, not having played before, I mean, I played earlier in the day, but I haven't played in a few hours. Something that would happen to me, especially when I was younger, is I would take in a whole lot of air, a really big breath, and then I would try to play something really high, and then I would just like black out, fall over. It was fun at the time. I would take a really big breath because that's what your band director tells you, right? You take a huge breath, and then you blow really hard, and then pass out. So that's what I would do, and I would fill up from the stomach, fill up all the way, and then when I would start to press, I would be so oxygenated that I would just get dizzy and fall over. And I did this every day in high school. I just thought it was a blast. Well, after doing some light reading and experimenting, the idea behind some of the upper register notes is that you don't want to over intake with the oxygen. So what I was trying to do is tighten the lower part below the lungs and just fill in this area. So I'm not breathing in very much. There's a lot more to it. As I go up, I might explain some other things that I'm sort of doing. Since I'm on spring break, the way I practice, just the way I space out what I practice, like literally resting as much as I play or resting more than what I play, especially as I'm going up in the upper register. It's really, really nice because you don't get that chop fatigue so bad. And, like when you're overplaying or playing, if you're playing in jazz band, you're just hammering on your face all day long. So I've been enjoying spring break for that. Notice when I set up, I'm setting up with my lips touching, and I breathe in through my sides, not breathing in very much. And well, that's right, I was talking about the air column. So instead of filling up my stomach when I'm going higher, I'm keeping my stomach tight and just filling up like the chest area. So that I'm not passing out. Like I said, when I was in high school, like literally, I would take a big breath. And when I was in high school in 2004, 5, 6, 2000, like a long time ago, I would take a big breath, roll as hard as I possibly could, and I wouldn't stop playing until I hit a G every day, like a G above high C. Like I wouldn't stop playing until I hit that. Like whatever I had to do. And like 20 times in a row, I would take a deep breath, I'll push really hard, breathe in way too much, and just pass out, fall over. I would have like bean bags on the floor so that when I fell over, I would like land on a bean bag because I knew a bean bag would catch me because it always happened. And what I find out later is it's just taking in way too much air. And a lot of the students that I work with, in order to play those higher notes, I see them do it all the time. They're like sucking in so much air. And some of the things that I've shown in my master classes, I don't know if I have one in here, but I would take like a tissue and I would take the tuning slide out, right? Tuning slide out. And I would blow a low note. And the tissue would go like, woo, like it would blow away because there's like a lot of airflow. And then I would play like a really high note, or a higher note, and the tissue, as I go higher, the tissue wouldn't blow. Like the air would be so little that the tissue didn't even move. And so it's kind of a cool thing that just demonstrates that it's not a whole lot of air that you use when you're going up high. You the best. Oh, I have no Devon Stinametsi. You the best. Yep. So anyway, while I'm warming up here, I'm not going to take in a whole lot of air so I don't pass out, right? So I don't have much air left, but if I'm pushing enough, a couple things going on there. My stomach's tight. I'm not taking in a ton of air. And I'm blowing, what I say? The air column is smaller that way. So instead of the air column being like from here to like the waist area, you change the camera. I don't care. I'm tightening to here so the air column is shorter. The shorter air column, not taking in as much air. There's a couple other things that I'm doing, and these are all things that I'm kind of playing around with since I have the time to do it, since it's spring break and I'm not teaching a ton of people. Trying to keep the throat relaxed. I'm trying to use more like tongue arch. Over time, sometimes my tongue gets lazy. But what I was watching another trumpet player, and I was noticing he did this thing where he's using the tongue to steer the air straight through the trumpet, and so he like had his corners open, and he was able to still play. See how like there's no air leaks? Literally, the tongue is pushing the air straight through the trumpet. And if I want to go higher, I'm pretty limited there because of my lip position. Again, I got a big gaping hole on the side. And I can still like play. My tongue's not stopping. I mean, it is, but the air's not getting around my tongue when I'm playing. So, I'll do a couple other things. So there's like an F sharp. Again, when the tongue, okay, so if I was to categorize this, it's part of the reason I like doing live streams is because I can categorize what I'm talking about, kind of get my thoughts together. But it's like I'm pushing, stomach's firm. I'm not taking in too much air like I used to do when I was in high school and I would pass out. Heck, I'd done when I was at, it was my senior year and I was doing the All-State, I was doing lead in the All-State band. And it was kind of it was fun, but the week before that, I went on our senior class trip and I brought my trumpet, but I didn't practice at all. And back then, if I took a day off, my chops were just like terrible. It's still that way sometimes. So the class trip was fun, but once I got back, physically I couldn't handle the amount of practicing and then playing at the concert that we had to do for All-State. This is in Iowa. So when I was doing I can't remember what, I think it was a G, but I had to go up and play a high G at one point, and I remember the darkness just like creeping in the sides, and all of a sudden everything kind of gets what's the word? Everything's just going dark, and I'm like swaying, and I'm not really blowing anymore. I'm just kind of standing that because I basically passed out standing because I took in so much air, and then tried blowing really really hard. I think if I went back and listened to the recording, I think I hit the note for just like a split second before I just like almost fell over. But I didn't fall over, and then after about 20 seconds, I came back to and I was able to finish the song up. But breathing in too much air, having the air column be too long. So now what I'm doing, what I can work on is tightening up to here, using less air as I'm going higher. So I'm breathing very shallowy, right? But again, my lips are together. I have holes on the side. You can see that my tongue is guiding the air straight through the mouthpiece. And then when I blow, I'm tightening to about here to make a shorter air column. Let's see. Now what I'm doing with my lips, starting with my lips together, if I want more compression, something that I've done is I'll roll my bottom lip in somewhat. Now, not everybody can do the same thing because not everybody plays the same way. Like there are all kinds of different embouchures that people use. I'll just kind of show you what I'm doing. I wonder if I should be adjusting the volume so that the playing isn't so loud. But for a lot of people whose top teeth come over the bottom teeth, having your bottom lip under your top lip is kind of a pretty natural thing to do. But if you roll that lip in somewhat, now your lips are together, and when you blow, you have a whole lot of lip right there ready for compression. So I'm playing around with how much compression I use when I'm in the mouthpiece, because sometimes I do too much and then it's not, the note doesn't really speak. Let me play a little bit more. So there I biffed it, playing an F sharp. What I started with, I think would be too much compression. Or shouldn't say too much compression, because compression comes from a lot of parts. It's like everything your tongue does, your lips do, everything on that side of your teeth. The tongue was in that position still. Oh, my tongue. Let me talk about that a little bit. My tongue is really fat and flat, spanning from the top teeth, top tooth to top tooth. And then the air's going straight over that, straight out of the mouthpiece. So it's guiding and steering where the air is going. That reminds me of the other thing I'm working on. So another thing I'm playing around with is leaving the pressure on the bottom lip and seeing how high I can get before I add pressure to the top lip. So there, notice how I pivot down away from that top lip to take pressure away. So there I had less pressure on the top lip. What did I read in the Reinhard book? Saying if you can save that, for the very last second or the very last minute when you're going up high to use that pressure, if you can hold off on that as long as possible, the longer the better. You'll be able to pop up the higher notes, hopefully easier. So what I'm trying to do is play around with the idea that I'm buzzing all the way up there, minimizing pressure on the top lip, all the way up to a G or so. And then I'm trying to pop out an A. Last time I went live, I don't normally save these live streams. I just kind of let them go. I make them unlisted or private or something. But the last one I did like a C scale, 3 octaves. Did I do it 3 octaves, or I did up to the super C? But doing that, I used just an awful lot of top lip pressure. So I'm trying to get up there in the same direction without the extra pressure. So what do I want to do now? F sharp. So I only went up a half step to a G with the pressure. But a couple things weren't in place. Like I took in a lot of air. There I held off a little bit more till the very top. did a G to G gliss and then popped out the A using the pressure. How did he word it in that book? Said let that extra pressure be like your trump card, like when you really need to do that. And so I'm trying to use more, practice more buzzing to develop the muscle to hold all that together. And like I said, just and then hold the pressure off as much as I can, because just hitting the note and using the pressure might give you like a coordinated advantage, I suppose, so that you know how to do it. But it's not necessarily going to like strengthen or build strength in that area. So, but trying to fit all these things together, I think can be difficult to remember. Like if you're trying to optimize all this stuff, like I'm trying to do, I'm not super comfortable with doing all these things at once. Like I mean, I can play the notes. Wonder how awful that sounds. So I can hit that A above high C using mostly buzzing up to it and then using a little bit of pressure just to pop out the A at the end. My goal is to play over time higher and higher without needing that extra pressure. So a lot of times, back when I changed from downstream, when I changed from a downstream to, well, I'm still playing with the downstream. I shouldn't say that because I'm still blowing down, but I've tried blowing straight. But a couple of years ago, I switched from playing mostly like this to playing straighter. And I think what I gained from that mostly was just using that extra pressure on the top. Hello, Amaya. I think that's Amaya. Hello, Camden. Good to see you both. So again, as I'm going higher, putting all these things together, I'm trying to hold it together as if I'm buzzing it. And just hold off. Hello, Caleb. And hold off on the pressure until I need it. So doing glisses is something that helps me with this because I can do it very gradually. And not a whole lot of pressure. And I'm using, again, more of a downstream. So I have the pressure on the bottom lip instead of the top. Is what I'm playing around with. And trying to minimize top pressure till I need it to pop out. So then when I try to hit the A sounds, well, I'll try it. Still a G. I'm trying to, again, go over the list, trying to shorten the air column. So instead of filling my belly up with air, fill up the stomach just for the high register, trying to keep that tight and in, and then breathe into the chest. So I'm not taking in so much air. And then I'm trying to use my tongue to steer the air. See how I have a big gap, but I'm still playing? Just because my tongue is steering the air straight through. So it's making it super efficient. And then, what am I doing? with my corners are firm. My lips, I'm trying to keep most of the pressure on the bottom lip as long as possible. I'm starting with my lips touching, or I'll even roll the bottom lip in slightly. But again, I used to play straight. I'm trying to play down a little bit to take the pressure off the top lip till I need it at the end. So I almost took in too much air. So there I held off on the pressure when I got to the F sharp. And then I popped a little bit more pressure to hit the A above high C. So that's the kind of thing that I'm goofing around with. But again, as I'm doing this, sometimes I forget because sometimes I forget to breathe shallowly for the upper register so I don't pass out. And so I'll breathe into the stomach. And I was like, oh shoot, too oxygenated, and the blackness will start to come in. And I mean, I can still do it. So if I breathe into my stomach, everything will go dark and I'll start passing out. Which uh, it's not like it's painful because there's headaches that you get from doing that where it's like you got like a migraine feeling type thing because you're literally just like blowing air into your brain, and then you got the sort of feeling where you're just like really lightheaded. So if I breathe in all the way, and I'll do that. So right there, lightheaded, dizzy. If I wasn't sitting, I'd probably about fall over. But for the for high C and above high C, instead of taking a really big full breath, I'm just breathing very shallowly through my corners. It's a very shallow little breath because you don't need that much air. And then for the high note, popping a little bit more pressure. Although that time, I kind of went back to a habit of keeping everything straight. So I already had some pressure on the top lip. So I didn't have a whole lot more pressure to give by the time I got up there. So again, that's something I'm working on. And to work on all these things simultaneously takes a little bit of focus. So tight stomach, shallow breath, not that much air, tongue in position. It's a lot to think about. And so what I'm doing since it's spring break is kind of doing these things one at a time, working on my breathing. And just kind of focusing on that first. And once that gets comfortable, now it's okay, make sure my throat's open. My neck position. This is something I started doing. I think I watched a TED talk about how to fix posture like this. And they're like, hold your finger up to your nose or something, and now pull your neck back away from your nose. I was like, okay. And so I'm doing it for some reason. Now that I'm doing this, you're all like, wow, he has a really big nose. And so I was doing this, and I thought, the air passage is a lot more open. And so the posture thing was a TED talk about posture, having your neck come back and dip your chin down a little bit. And so you can exaggerate that and screw up the neck and screw up the throat and have it like too tense. But what I started doing is playing, and as I breathe, I pull my neck back just a little bit. And you can feel in the throat how it's just a little bit different. Like when you sing, aw, aw. Unless you don't sing, then, this is just no good for you. Anyway, so open throat, tongue, steering all the air straight through. But the setup is another thing I'm playing with. Like I said, bringing the bottom lip in somewhat, but try not to overcompress. Let me see. So there I could tell that when I got to the F, I wasn't maxing out my pressure. So then I popped a G. Now doing it this way, I've noticed my stomach doing a whole lot more work and the abs getting quite a bit firmer than usual. Because who was I listening to? I don't know if it was the Bill Adams routine. It was something, and I might have got the wrong idea because I would fill up my stomach, and then I would push down and kind of forward. And this other guy I'm reading, his name's Reinhard. I think that's how you pronounce it. Where is that book? Reinhardt, Reinhardt. He's saying that basically they'll give you a hernia, and I don't want a hernia. So not very many people want a hernia. So I was like, I don't. And it makes sense to me to like keep the abs tight. That feels like I get that. Like if you're getting punched in the stomach, like tightening up there, not the shoulders, but that feeling makes sense to me. And then the blacking out is better when I'm filling up just the chest area and not taking in quite so much oxygen. So then now I'm trying to go as far as I can without that extra pressure on the top lip. So I'm down again. So there I had a little bit of room for more pressure, but the only reason to add pressure at that point is, I mean, maybe a coordination thing. If you're, it's not going to really make you stronger to pop out a higher note by just switching the pressure to the top. So I don't know. I could do it for show or to see if I can, I guess. Oh, I just had a burp. It was a sardine burp. Because after I went to the gym, I had a can of sardines because it was like 20 grams of protein. Are you going to say no to 20 grams of protein? I don't think so. I don't think so. What am I doing, a G? So there it actually took a little bit more pressure to maintain the G. Like you can feel it flipping. And then at that point, I'm not going to push so hard to try to pop something else higher. I'm going to go back and try to do it again without the extra pressure. And at that point, I'm trying to figure out if I can get away with actually rolling in and buzzing and adding a little bit of pinch to get that note out without the extra pressure. But again, you can't just do it over and over again without resting. You got to give yourself those breaks. If it starts getting puffy enough, you got to let the swelling go down a little bit. The context that I typically use when I practice this stuff is I'll put on what was I playing? I'll put on like a backtrack that I play along with to practice improvisation in whatever key. What was I doing? Especially if there's like a key that's bad for me. So F sharp minor, because I was playing a song in A major, I just kind of wanted to have that key signature down under my fingers. So now I'll do that, and when I'm resting, quote unquote, I can just play really, really low. And after I'm relaxed enough, I can start going up higher. Again, little breaths. There I tried to go pop the A, but the pressure wasn't quite happening because my lips are starting to get a little bit more swollen because of the pressure, and then a little bit tired in that area. So 5 minutes. Sometimes I'll rest, wait for the chops to come back just a little bit. If you're just joining me, then I don't know what you're doing because it's like 9:14 and the you're probably just like either a robot. So the big news is that today I just reached 1,000 robot subscribers, which I'm really, really proud of because, like I was saying at the beginning of the stream, if you've ever made bread from like scratch, like without using yeast, it takes like several weeks, I think, where you just catch the natural yeast that's floating in the air and like feeds on the, I think it just feeds on the flour. But basically, this channel is like a sourdough starter, catching wild robots until I reach 1,000, which just happened today. So huge milestone in this YouTube channel. Huge, ginormous. 1,000 robots. 997 robots and like a couple real people. So that's super. That's huge. That's super great. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, I was stalling and buying time so that I could rest my face before I try to go up to a G. So there I took a big full breath again. Stupid. Instead of breathing shallowly like I was trying to practice. And then I noticed my tongue starts to drop. And I'm not even great at steering the air through quite yet. What I'm trying, if you weren't here for the first part, I'm trying to demonstrate that I'm using my tongue to get the air through the trumpet. Even though I have like gaps on the side, I'm trying to make the tongue really efficient. So I can still play. Even though there's like obvious gaps of air going that could potentially go out the side. So I'm using my tongue, just blowing straight out the middle. See how I'm doing that? So your tongue, I'm going to do that. Your tongue has to be against your side molars. And you're hissing. Which is another thing that I'm working on. Because I've read, I do something a little bit different with my tongue. I don't think I mentioned that yet. When I'm going up high, so there's a G. I think the pressure was maybe not 100%, but it was pretty close. But with my tongue, I started doing this thing. I think I did it before I learned what it was. Where originally, when I was learning to articulate, because I was taught trumpet by a professional drummer, a really really good percussionist, really good drum set player, great guy, and woodwind player. He was also really good with woodwinds and stuff. And he would play a little trumpet with me at first, I think, if I remember right. But I don't think he was like a brass player. So I never really learned brass specific stuff. He just kind of taught me music, and I was just like practicing all the time trying to figure it out. And so my tonguing originally, I would go puh, puh, puh with my tongue. And so that was goofy until high school, I think. I did that weird stuff until he was like, no, it's got to be tuh. Because I think one day I'm like, that's not how I tongue. I go tuh, tuh, tuh. And he like looks at me with horror and he's like, what? It was like, I was like, oh no. And so another thing that I had done in high school is I suck the tip of my tongue behind my bottom teeth, and I would go ta 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 like that. Ta, ta. And you can try talking like that in the privacy of your own homes, hopefully when nobody like hears you, because they'll think you're talking really stupid. It's just keeping the tip of the tongue anchored. It's called the anchor tongue to your bottom teeth. Um, I've heard people who play higher than I play not do that. They still keep the tip of the tongue behind their top teeth, and they're still playing. They play great. So I don't think that's like the silver bullet or anything like that. But I don't know how you can steer the air straight through the mouthpiece without having the tongue in that anchor tongue position. I don't know how else that works. I can't have the tip of my tongue behind my top teeth and be able to steer the air without having the tip of my tongue behind my bottom teeth. So that's something I do as I'm hissing, as I'm going up higher. So all these things kind of together, one at a time, these things I think have helped me develop some of the upper register that I can play. It's like air, tightening the stomach, shorter air column. That's going to give plenty of power and range just by itself. Just using that wind. And then after that, I had a lot of trouble with like throat tension, which a lot of it I fixed kind of with posture. And then just imagining blowing or singing, like everything very open, warm air. There's a lot of things that you can do to sort of teach yourself how it feels to have the throat area open, but then doing that and playing at the same time. It's like anything that you combine with playing the trumpet seems like it's difficult at first. When I first tried to tongue the right way and play at the same time, it was super hard. Can you elaborate on the shorter air column part? Yes, Liliana Cantu. I sure will. And thank you for joining us. That is one more person who is not one of the 1,000 robots that we just got today. I wish I had a bell. Hold on. Today we have hit 1,000 robot subscribers. That didn't sound like I thought it would sound. Okay, so the shorter air column thing. This is, if you're just joining us, Liliana Cantua, the shorter air column thing is you can push from like your waistline. If you're pushing air from your waistline out your mouth, then your air column is like in my case, it's like 4 feet long because I'm tall. But the air column going from your waist to here and out your mouth, that's a really, really long air column. A shorter air column for higher notes is supposedly advantageous because imagine you're trying to play a high note on a trombone. It's harder. You can get smaller equipment, but it's just not really geared for it. So you're gearing the inside, everything on this side, you're gearing this shorter. Imagine a piccolo flute. Piccolo flutes, they're really, really tiny. So like this. I don't play piccolo flute. But it's very, very short, and so it's sort of geared for those high, screechy notes. So you're trying to play upper register stuff. The thing I'm playing around with is the idea of a shorter air column. So instead of pushing from my waist, I'm tightening my waist, my abs, and let's see if I have anything. I'm tightening from the waist up through the abs, all the way to the bottom, like of the rib cage. So instead of having the stomach out and fat and filled with air, I'm tightening from the waistline all the way up to the chest area. And so instead of the air column being that wide, the air column is this long. It's like cut in half. And so by tightening from there up, so I'll just tighten like to there. And now I'm going to breathe into my chest. I'm tight. My air column is shorter. And then when I blow, the advantages are, well, let's say there's two advantages. Advantage number one, I was elaborating on this before. When I was in high school, I used to take a big full breath, fill up my stomach, fill up everything. And then when I would blow to play a really high note, I would black out. And I would do this like 20 times in a row, put pillows on the floor so I could fall on the pillows because it always happened. I just thought eventually I'll get used to it. I never did. I never got used to just passing out and blacking out from filling up, being over oxygenated, over inhaling, and trying to blow and then passing out. So what I do right now is I'll breathe shallowly into the chest, tuck all this in, shorter air column, and I'll just play a little bit. Going up to the F sharp. So this is all tight. If I push from down low, if I'm pushing just from the belt line, you're having to move all this air out of your mouth instead of just moving it from here out. It's easier to compress small amounts of air than large amounts of air. So if I'm trying to compress, okay, think about an air compressor. And you probably left by now, and whatever. Maybe one of your other two people that are here care to listen to it. A lot of this I do just so I have like a reference to go back to for things that I'm working on or trying to figure out. YouTube is great for that. But trying to compress this much air is way more energy than trying to compress this much air. Like I can compress that super easy, and higher notes don't take as much air. So you don't need as much. You can play higher a lot longer than you can play lower because it just doesn't take very much air. It takes a lot of pressure. So tightening the stomach, filling up the chest. I'm able to play a lot higher than if I fill up everything. And now everything's going dark and I'm getting the dizzy feeling and I'm feeling like I'm going to pass out. So it's not necessarily the pressure, it's the over oxygenation that's giving the headaches and the dizziness and all those other weird things. So shorter air column, less air to compress. The air can go a little bit faster. Well, maybe I don't want to say twice as fast, but it takes less energy to shoot the air out through the mouthpiece. And then the other thing is that you're not over oxygenating your system, so you don't feel like you're going to pass out. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Good question. Thank you. Thanks. That's a really helpful explanation. I'm glad you liked it. I'm usually too thorough. That's kind of the problem with the way I teach stuff is I'm usually too long-winded. Because air column is a joke. My explanations are usually too long-winded. I usually give more information than anybody would ever care to know. Most of my students would attribute, I don't know. I used to have this nagging thought in my head that if you're going to play high notes, you just got to get smaller equipment. And since I was taught by a percussionist and then a saxophone player, I think he would ask around and be like, "Hey, how can I get this kid to play higher?" And I remember I played a high C. I was probably on like a 5C or something when I was in seventh grade. I think it was seventh grade because I wasn't there during eighth grade. I remember playing a high C. He's like, "You played a high C," and I'm like, "Oh wow." Um, to help facilitate upper range when I got in high school, this is the same guy. I had the same director in middle school and high school. He got me it wasn't the Bobby Shoe model. He tried me out on a couple. He got me the Alan Vizzuti mouthpiece, which was quite a bit shallower. It was the Yamaha make of an Alan Vizzuti mouthpiece. I really liked that because at the time I could blow really hard and push into my face really hard, and the shape just worked out pretty good to squeeze out high notes. Not the greatest approach. Not a great approach compared to what I'm doing now. All these years later. Um, so at the moment, because at the time, I mean, I couldn't play the same way on larger or deeper equipment. And so I would always go to my lead mouthpiece. I don't really do that now. What I'm playing on, actually, I looked it up. I didn't even really know what it was, but the mouthpiece I'm playing on is bigger than a 3C mouthpiece. And the rest of it is thicker, wider bore than a 3C mouthpiece. So I'm playing on, from what I understand, a little bit bigger equipment. Now this is a Schilke 12A4, and I don't really get a whole lot of benefit playing on a smaller, shallower mouthpiece. Like maybe a little bit, but not seemingly not enough to just make a big switch. You know, I don't know. It's like if I use this one, it's not really the point of how I get the notes out. That doesn't, I can always play on something a little smaller or shallower, but that's not going to fix how I work on my air column. It's not going to fix my tongue positioning. It's not going to fix the way my lips, the way my corners work coming toward the mouthpiece. Like it doesn't make all those cutting edge. But it might make the timbre a little bit more bright, and it might make it a little bit brighter, a little bit more piercy in quality. But I don't know. And maybe that's a good enough reason to play on something else, but it really doesn't make the note speak better. Like, could I potentially play longer on it? Maybe, but I'm also not really. I don't know. I don't know. I go back and forth on equipment sometimes, but when I say back and forth, I mean back and forth on the idea that equipment makes it better or worse or more helpful, less helpful, because it must do something. But in the end, I think if you're always working on your form and you're perfecting that, that's going to solve most of the problems you have. So I'm playing on a pretty big piece. Now sometimes I'll goof around with a completely different setup, which I haven't really liked lately. This is just my playing atmosphere. So again, the way I usually practice is I'll work on like improv on a piece in a key that I'm working on. And then I just kind of go by feel. If I'm going to go a little bit higher, I'll go higher. And then once I'm a little bit tired, I'll go back down and work in the low register. it's like kind of like going back and forth, working on the full register, just wherever it feels comfortable. And I think improv kind of lends well for practicing the things that you need or in the registers that you want to be working on. And then it makes everything a little bit more fluid so you can go up and down. Even though the things that I'm playing right now aren't exactly that interesting. I also notice that when I work on the improv, my stomach gets lazy, and my tongue gets lazy, and so I do have a harder time going higher when I'm in like an improv setting. For that reason, like my neck comes forward a little bit. Like all these bad habits start creeping in because I started improvising when I was younger. So I would practice like that a lot because I had horrible posture. So sometimes when I just improvise and practice that way, I won't have the, what would I say? I'll just lose some of the good habits that I work on or the ones that I focus on or when I'm playing music. Aiden Thames, what was the book you used? Welcome. You are one of the, well, you're obviously one of the non-robots that have subscribed in the last decade of me being on here. I gotta hit the bell every now and then. Yay, we've hit 1,000 robot subscribers. So 1,000 bots have found their way onto this channel, and we're super excited. What was the book you recommended for working up lip trills? I never recommended. I have recommended like the Arbin lip trill before. You know. Okay, so let me think because I don't always recommend lip trills because I think lip trills are great to do, by the way. But now I'm getting different information and I'm listening to no, okay. Number one, you can work on Arbin lip trills. So there's trills like that in the Arbin you could look at. Two, if you have access to the Louis Davidson routine, which I know I have given you, it was like the first year, and I started giving those handouts, and that was organized in a nice way where you had like you went from low to high in the routine, and eventually you have like, but those aren't all lip trills. It's like there's lip trills sprinkled in there in like more of a whole. I was gonna say wholesome. A whole. What do you call it? What's the word? Not whole life. I think that's an insurance. What's the word for it? Like you see holistic, a more holistic approach to playing the trumpet, to a routine that covers everything that a trumpet would have. So with just plain lip trills, the Arbin has that. Otherwise, for lip trills, just doing that and going up and down the harmonic series, and then start on the second to third harmonic. Oh no. Okay, here. The I could probably find it too. Let me see if I can find it. The Charles Collin Advanced Lip Flexibilities. That book. And I've seen that book online. Let me see. Because now you just this is it. So the Charles Collin Lip Flexibility book, it's a 3-volume book. The second volume has the lip trills. And I just found a PDF, but it just has the first volume. I've seen it on here before. I don't see it now. I went through that years ago. I gotta find that. I don't have to find it. You could look for it. I have the book. I don't know where the heck I haven't used it in a long time though. What's this? Daily trumpet routine. No, but it's by Charles Collin. I'm not a robot. All my subscribers are, but I'm not. Ugh. But that's but that okay. But the Charles Collin Lift Flexibility book, volume 2. So it's one book with 3 volumes in it. The second volume has the lift trills. It goes something like that kind of thing. Um, Honestly, I haven't worked on a lot of lip drills the last couple days because I've been looking at this new. It's not a new book; it's a really old book. This book by Reinhard, and I've just been kind of working on those concepts that I was talking about recently. Because he never recommends moving the jaw position, and I move my jaw position a lot. I think I found the full thing. Yeah. I've seen it online before. It was like I don't know. It looked like the language was like Swahili or something, or Chinese, or I don't know. But let me see. Charles Collin Advanced Lift Flexibility PDF. And then let me see. Here it is. No, that says, oh, that just says click here to download. I hate that. So many of that stuff, so much of that stuff on here. But if you think you found it, cool. I'm sure you can. I mean, you can buy it. It's still available. But yeah, that's I've used that in the past quite a bit. It used to be that if I didn't go through that every day, um, if my playing was bad, I would do that 3 days in a row and it would fix everything. But I think what I found when I was in my early 20s is when I would practice that, I think what I was mostly practicing was the pressure change on my face. And so I was practicing it a lot, but I think it was the pressure that I was changing that gave me the notes that I wanted. Now, like I said, if I'm summarizing everything, I'm working on shorter air column, using my tongue to steer the air straight through the trumpet, which is how I can do this and not have any air leaks. Which is kind of weird. So having the tongue steer the air straight through, and then working on my lip positioning, so that my breathing through the corners, which I always do, but starting with my lips touching. I'm just trying to get those jazz lip trills because I can do the shakes, but I absolutely can't do the trills fast. No, I totally get that. So, like, what note is it? If you can, is it because if it's like an A, uh, when I'm actually doing like a lip trill, when I was taking lessons with Justin Kaiser, he did like it was definitely like a handshake, handshake, ha, ugh. And the rationale there, because again, you listen to different people talk about methods for trumpet. There's a lot of logic to the way Reinhard describes playing the trumpet. And so he would do vibrato and lip trills with the hand because he's not one of those pressure free, pressure is evil types. It's use it like maximum pressure or a lot of pressure should be used kind of as a trump card if you're trying to play something particular or high. But if you have a good, strong forward setup, a pucker, a handshake should work great. Oh, I keep getting lazy. That's why I'm working on this. Tighten up to the, so I'm not breathing, filling up the belly anymore when I'm playing high. And I'm tightening from the bottom, like tightening upward as high as I can, shortening the air column so I can do the high stuff. What note was I going to do? Oh, I was. Doing something a little wider like that. I think I'm doing pressure and. So there's a lot of tongue manipulation in there too. I've done it in so many different ways. It's kind of the reason that, so the things that I'm practicing, I'm trying to like solidify the best way to do a lot of these things. Um, and then trying to maximize each of these things. It's like, okay, if air manipulates the pitch, how can I make my air do that as best as it can? If tongue can manipulate the pitch, how can I make my tongue do it the best it can? So then I focus on that part. If it's the lips, like coming forward to a pucker, similar to what Maggio talked about, how can I make my lips as efficient, or how can I get extra compression, or how can I find the best balance of forward position without going too far and like filling the cup up too much, or how can I bring my lips together to hit a note, all while maintaining extra pressure on the, keeping the majority of the pressure on the bottom lip and not overdoing the pressure on the top lip. Like, you can get so good at each of these facets, and then you can get good at like combining two of them together really, really well. And then hopefully you're doing all of them maximally. But that system, the way Reinhardt talks about it, he doesn't like a moving jaw position. So, and I can see how that would be, because let's say that your first move is down. Well, you're going to be doing a down lip trill unless you're focusing up even higher, you know? You know? It's like, what are you going to, so I guess if I'm using jaw like I've done quite a bit, then that jaw position, I have to scoot up to the higher note before I pull my jaw away. And now I'm just making way more work doing that lip trill. So that's rather than keeping the pressure away and then doing like a shake, like let me see. So I keep getting lazy and going back on the tape on the back of the chair. See there, I'm using a little bit more pressure to pop the higher note out. Still have a high tongue position, have good compression with the lips. I'm using a forward position, but I'm keeping the jaw from moving so I don't lose compression. See, there's kind of a combination of tongue, lip, E to F sharp, lip trill. I think lip trills are. It's just funny because there's so many ways to do the same thing on a trumpet, and so I've tried every way. I've tried almost every way that I can think of to do the same thing, and I think when I'm actually performing, because I don't always have these things solid, I end up doing like a combination of like all of them to some degree. But it's times like this during spring break where I can kind of recenter on how I'm doing things and how can I improve on things. Otherwise, I'm just kind of teaching all day and playing when I teach other people. And I'm not fine tuning the stuff that I'm doing necessarily. So summer is my favorite playing season because I'm playing higher, I'm playing better, my improv is better because I can practice all day every day. Everything feels more natural. I can um, but during the school day it's hard to focus on the things that I need to get better at because I'm focusing on what other people need to get better at, which is fine. Um, I enjoy that. What was I saying? I was saying something. Oh, whatever. What did I try to get to? I did a couple A's. Trying to do an A again. The A seems to be me doing a G to a G and then doing a pressure pop to get the A in. If everything's going perfectly, that's probably too much air. Too much air and I black out. Well, I'm gonna try to do it. Once I got to the top, I didn't have enough. And once I got there, I tried using a little bit more tongue to push it the rest of the way, but the A didn't come out super clear that time. There's a certain point where that's the other thing I've kind of been doing differently is my warm up a little bit more thorough, a little bit more gentle. That way I'm not beating my. No, I can't say that either because last couple of days I haven't been doing that and everything seems to work pretty good. But I do come out of my practicing warming down. Bring everything down, relaxing, everything, getting the vibration back in the lips, letting the swelling go down. I have been leaving the horn with my lips in pretty good shape, and I think that helps out quite a bit when I come back to it. And then just not overdoing it at the time. And overdoing it is usually, no, it's both. It's overdoing it physically, muscularly, and overdoing like the pressure. Um, so I haven't been overdoing it too much. Even when I played on Tuesday night, which that's Stan Kenton stuff. It's not like I was playing every note when I was playing lead. I was like playing somewhat sparingly because I don't consider myself a lead player. Not really. Not like real lead players who can like do this stuff really, really well. But I'll fill in if I have to. Especially with that group. But after 2 hours, I didn't have to take the day off the next day. It wasn't that bad, and I was going into it in pretty good shape. And like I said, I probably rested and took better care of my chops. Um, Played a lot softer, unless I really had to be there. So that's another thing with the upper register. It's the volume that seems to be such a killer. Although I don't know if I can go up there soft at the moment. I tried to play soft. Eventually, everything just starts to open up, and then it's just loud. Already opening up. See, there it's like it popped out and then something slipped. I'm getting lazy with my posture. You try describe the reworked Chikowitz flow studies for range. Um, the reworked ones, what are those like? Chikowitz. Chikowitz. No, Chikowitz. Which ones are those? What do they look like? First study, but it's full range. I mean, because I've done and then and then from there I've just kind of gone higher, but I don't know what the actual study is, but I've made my own up, I guess. But I'm not really sure. I don't know if I know the particular ones that you're talking about. So I'm not sure. I don't know. Do you have a copy of them there? Can you post a link or something? So there, minimal pressure. It wasn't very loud, minimal volume. It's just the first study, but it's full range. What does that mean? Like, is it then like that? Or what? Maybe you can enlighten me. I used my fake setup for the last one. I don't really play like that. It won't let me send the link in here. Well, I wonder why not. Engage with your audience. I am engaging with my audience. Answer viewer questions live. Start Q&A. What is that? Start a poll. Let's see. Ask a question. All right. This will be fun for you too. I don't know. Ask a question. Yes or no? I don't know what question to poll. Oh, that'd be a good question. It could just pertain to the thing. Do you own a Lotus mouthpiece? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, thanks. I'll take a look at it. Do ba da do, do ba da do, do. Oh, so it goes through the keys. I've seen these. I don't know what makes those different than anything else. I've played Chikowitz things, but I've never. I don't know. I don't know if there's like a Chikowitz methodology to doing things. It's like everybody's played the Maggio exercises, but it's like how many people study how Maggio said to do the stuff. Which by the way, I don't think a lot of the Maggio stuff is. I don't think a lot of it's a very good idea at all. For example, he thinks you ought to breathe like a dying man taking like gasping for air, which means you're going to be really, really full, which means you're going to feel like passing out. And then he says, put the mouthpiece under your nose and then bring it down until the bottom lip pops in. Now, I don't necessarily mind that idea because it sort of complements the way I play, but not everybody plays with mostly top lip and some bottom lip. Claude Gordon talked about that, but there's a lot of people who play the opposite way or with even lips. So Maggio, I don't know. It seems I think it's better to start on the trumpet, breathe in through your corners. I've always done that. That's something Reinhard talks about in his methodology, which I think is very thorough. If you guys aren't familiar with that, I wasn't familiar with it, but I read it last night, or I read half of it last night and this morning, and now I'm half an expert on it. um, but I think what Maggio does well is talks about the lips coming forward, and I think that's very good. So, but I don't know if Chikowitz has a particular method, but the idea that you bring your lips generally towards the mouthpiece, I think is just supremely a better idea than like bring your lips away. Now, the breathing is a little bit counter because when you breathe through the sides, you sort of pull that back. So I can kind of understand breathing in and then setting up your face and going, but I think that's worse because you're adding tension to your throat because you're stopping your air. I think that's a terrible thing to do. So even though you're breathing through your corners, the centers together, I think that's way better. And then you just got to bring everything back forward, like you would, like Maggio would say, or a lot of other people. So you have more of a pucker when you start to play. I don't think Chikowitz does by the guy. What does that say? I don't think Chikowitz does, but the guy who rewrote those studies has some decent stuff. Oh, really? Let me take a look. Who put that together? Remember your accidentals, Mr. Wing, Greg Wing, Professor Greg Wing. Oh, he's a professor. That's cool. Professor Greg Wing. Let's see what he's got. Greg Wing. HOF. Oh, he's playing with Wayne Bergeron on this one. I wonder what his methodology. Oh, thanks. Yeah. After this, let's hear you play. That's nice. That's nice. Oh, he's got a solo. I should turn it up. I wish I could see Fisher because we kind of. What is this? F blues. Huh. Obviously, a different approach than what Wayne has. Oh, cool. But yeah, I think any sort of exercises or studies. That's why I do it in the context of improv because I'm thinking in a scale because you're basically just playing in a scale, right? Like it doesn't The only, like, why would you want to have, like, what's the advantage of Chikowitz studies? You know what they sound like. They're very consonant sounding. And so as you're going higher, you can predictably know if you're hitting the right notes, I guess. But as far as, I mean, I don't understand the advantage of those over just playing any scale. Like, what is it? Is it because the jump is in just the right place? I don't know. It doesn't seem advantageous. And so I would just, that's why I like to do it in the context of like improv, because you can do anything in that and just like pick a scale. Because then once you get tired, you can go improvise down low. Or soft, just to get your buzz back. What am I trying to do? So you can you let your lip sort of determine where you want to go at that point. I am also just bad at improvising, so it's harder to make progress that way. Yeah, maybe at first, but think start like this. Just take your concert B flat scale. And just goof around with it, And then when your lips start feeling like, oh, let me go a little higher. Or go slower, it don't matter. I should just play it. I It usually takes me a second to play the C. But just, you can call it improvising or just play up and down in that scale. And see, now that I played lower, my lips feel a little bit better. I'm going to take the scale up. Yep. You can move around in any key. And just doing that it'll get you familiar with the scale that you're in so that you can start playing around with different sounds. And so you sort of kill two birds. Nah, it's too violent. You sort of do two things with one at the same time. See, now my lower range is shutting down just a little bit because I've been playing high and my lips are getting stiff. So now I can goof around in a scale until it feels good. And then when your lips start feeling good again, slowly go up into the upper register. You do a lot of too, lots of. Yeah, I'm not really doing any particular exercise or routine, but I'm just kind of going by feel. It's like, what does the lip feel? And I don't know, what's the goal? I guess the goal for me right now is working on a couple of things that I mentioned. Air column, long air column versus short air column. Working on open throat, tongue arch. Not tongue arch only, but using the tongue to steer the air straight into the mouthpiece. Always freaks me out when I see that. It doesn't look like it should do anything. And then lips, lip compression, and then pressure, saving pressure for like saving it for when I get way, way up to a note that I'm trying to reach. Right now I have to use the pressure for G and for A. Sometimes I can even get up to the G without the pressure, but the A, I'm needing the pressure. So I'm trying to get up to that note without the added pressure, you know, which I think buzzing helps quite a bit too. Yeah, if I can't buzz right now. And right now I'm getting close to on the verge of practicing too much or playing too much in a row before warming down, taking a break. And that's what leads to, like in my case, waking up the next day and it's like, oh, everything's awful. This is terrible. I don't like this. Oh, and pressurizing the bottom lip instead of the top. Which for me leads to more of a downstream. But I think when I was playing straight, I think what ends up happening is I'm just pressurizing the top lip so much that the notes just speak. But then you end up getting a, how do you change which lip you have pressure with? Oh, so I'm glad you asked. So I'm playing straight on, like that's what I've been playing for a few years now, but it'll creep down every now and then. And by doing this, I found that I was able to play high pretty easy. And for a while there, I thought it was changing the direction of the air, or what else, or just having my lips more inside the mouthpiece. I don't know. I was like, oh wow, this works. But kind of reflecting on it now, I think it's just the added pressure. And so what I'm doing now, it depends on your embouchure, and your teeth positioning, because everybody plays a little bit different. Now, most people have a top over bottom overbite. So most people are playing more like this anyway. So what I'm changing from is from here, and I'm just taking the pressure away from the top a little bit. And so that's giving me kind of a down pivot. And so by doing this, now I'm holding things together more with the pucker. The mouthpiece is holding it together, but I'm holding off on that strong lip pressure, I'm holding off as long as I can. So let me see if I can still get a sound happening. See how I'm going up kind of as high as I can and then saving the pressure for if I need it? That's interesting. I've been messing around with a more straight on horn angle, and I feel a little more comfortable in the high range. I think it's the pressure, man. Like, I think it's literally the pressure. And people who go like this as they're going up higher, invariably, their sound thins out. They get softer as they go higher, and they lose power, and they can't push into their face because they don't have enough lip. So, with that pressure, if you have sort of a, and I've been on another extreme where I was like, all right, like just like it's been a while, but as I was kind of experimenting with this concept, at one point I remember I practiced for like 2 weeks putting the trumpet on my bottom teeth and pushing my bottom teeth forward and then leaving it there. And then I would bring it back to my top lip. So I had all the pressure on my bottom lip. And I would hold off on the pressure that way. But my jaw was in a very forward position, which gets annoying after a while. And so I don't really see the advantage there when you can just go kind of with what you're naturally given. Because if you can keep everything closer to your natural gifts, you're going to be able to do things without a lot of the strain, you know. So I'm now goofing around with a slightly downward position, so I have more pressure on the bottom lip, and then the top lip. It's not no pressure. It's just there's more cushion behind it because I'm bringing my lips forward, and I'm not popping that back unless I really need it. Now I took too big a breath. That's another thing I have a bad habit of, filling up all the way. So there I popped the pressure, nothing happened. Because, well, I don't know why. Let me see. So there I popped it and the G came out. Hello, the Crunchy Catholics. Hello twice. Thank you for that. And the big smiley face. So, what was I saying? So I'm trying to use as much like muscle coordination. The shortest air column I can possibly use, open throat, the highest tongue position, maximally pushing the air straight into the mouthpiece, and then having the lips in a high compression setting, pressure on the bottom lip, and then saving the top pressure for when I'm for like popping out something super high. Now in my case that's like G or A. It just kind of depends. Can you re-explain air column? I wasn't here. Yes I can. So air column is like, let's see if I can get down to the waist area. So air column, if I breathe into my stomach and fill all this up, my air column is from here to my mouth. Air column. And if I push from my belt line, I'm now pushing this amount of air out through the trumpet. Yay! Now, a big tall air column is a lot more air that you're trying to compress and push out through. What I'm playing with now is I'm tightening here all the way to here so that I'm pushing and tightening the abs up to the rib cage so that my air column is now from here to here. It's like half. So the air column is a lot smaller. So two advantages. One, think about it as you have the instrument on this side, and then you have like the instrument on this side. The smaller this is, let's say that I'll give you an analogy and I'll give you two benefits, I'd say, as far as I can understand it. When you're playing a piccolo flutes are short and tiny, and they help facilitate higher notes. They're just sort of geared for that. So if we can do the same thing with on this side, the benefits are two that I can think of. You have a smaller amount of air that you can compress. It's easier to compress small amounts of air than compressing a lot of air. Trying to compress all that takes tons of physical energy, and it's much more difficult to do. And you don't need all that air to pop out a high note. Now, if I tighten all this and I start the air column here, I'm pushing from, I have all this pressure and I'm filled up here. So you can try tightening your stomach and just fill up your chest. Now your air column is shorter, you have less air, and you can compress it in your chest and push it out with a lot more pressure. You're pushing out less air with more pressure. Shorter air column. The other advantage to this shorter air column is you're not going to over oxygenate yourself and pass out. If you weren't here when I was in high school, I would take a really big breath and then blow really hard, and I wouldn't stop until I played a high G, and I would like fall over 20 times in a row, just like on the floor. I would put bean bags and things on the floor to catch me so that when I fell over, I would fall on something soft. And I think I was told, and I just assumed that I would get used to it over time. And I never did. So by tightening up to here, using less air, you're able to compress more and not have that feeling of blacking out. So that's nice. When I played on, when we were playing on Tuesday, for that one part where I was supposed to go up to a high G, I filled up my gut and I started playing, and I was like, oh, shoot. I took in too much air, and the darkness started creeping in. That happened. What song was that? There's something that I had to go up to a high G. And I hit the G, and then the darkness started coming in, and I just sort of went, and kind of blacked out while I was standing there for just a little bit. So playing with that shorter air column, playing with less air, tightening up to here, pretend you're going to get punched in the stomach, without the shoulder raise. You have that feeling. Now I'm just taking a half breath, filling up just the chest. Now there I'm not concerned with my embouchure quite as much. I'm just concerned with the air compression. But, F sharp. If I wanted to pop out a little higher, I would focus on then tongue, open throat, lip compression, pressure. I don't know if it'll come out though, because my lips are getting tired. F G sharp. But that's like adding that extra pressure to pop the thing out. But if the air is good, the throat is open, the tongue is in a good position. Again, I like to take a break like this to work on each of these aspects kind of individually, and then start to combine them. And air column is one of those things that I'm working on right now to kind of improve the whole. But it's having all these things work in tandem. And again, it's not any magical equipment. This thing says it's a large bore trumpet. This mouthpiece is bigger than a 3C mouthpiece. It's wider bore than a 3C mouthpiece. I could play on this smaller Schilke, and it's different, but it's not. Playing on smaller equipment seems to be beneficial if I'm trying to maximize on the pressure factor, and that's it's helpful a little bit, and maybe it's a little bit helpful short term, but I can't play higher on this thing than I can on this bigger mouthpiece. maybe I can play with a little less energy, and maybe it pops the volume out a little bit louder. So let's say I was trying to be maximally efficient. Hypothetically, maybe I could maybe I could use something smaller and not work like 5% as hard, and maybe that could give me an edge over the course of a several hour playing situation. I finally found out what my trumpet actually is. Medium large step bore. Oh, really? Medium large. I don't really know. I don't really know what that means measurement wise. I don't really even know what that means. I assume it just means that it's bigger. Like I don't really know. I just assume it means that I blow more air through it. And I don't really know what it means, you know? I just know that there's like this idea that bigger is more difficult and smaller is more efficient and easier to play high notes. I don't know. So I just like to point out that it's not small stuff that's doing this, I guess. And my goal isn't, I'm still trying to get a workable Super C. I play better range stuff on my big giant mouthpiece. Yeah, I think I over pucker and probably use too much pressure on the top, or I had when I was using a straight setup. And so if I use something too shallow, it just shuts everything down. If I use something too small, it just feels weird because I like the mouthpiece against these points on my teeth. And so I like the rim to be in that spot. The Schilke, I actually like it's a little bit small for where I like the mouthpiece to sit versus like that one. I just like it to sit there. It's comfortable. Step bore means there's 3 different sizes. Oh, I see. So it's like medium, large. So it's a step towards the large, but not the biggest. Not sure what it does though. I mean, when I've played large bore stuff versus small bore stuff, it's usually a fuller, darker, deeper sound. Which I'm not really getting now because I have to warm down properly. Versus kind of that bright, shiny timbre that you might get from something smaller. But other people say it's just that balance of the back pressure hitting in a certain way. So, and maybe that's related, but I'm not really an equipment junkie. I just kind of found an instrument that I was like, oh, it sounds pretty. Then a mouthpiece that I was like, this is a cool mouthpiece. And then I just sort of practice a bunch because I think that methodology beats equipment every day of the week. I think you can do all. I mean, if I try to play on my giant, what is it? What mouthpiece is that? David Hickman mouthpiece. I've played just as high on that I've played on any of these mouthpieces, unless I kind of change my setup. Well, even then I can play. It's not as lasery and piercing, so that's a little bit different too. So the timbre changes a little bit. That other one, it just feels like, I don't know. It just feels weird playing on something that big. And I get used to it over time, and then I love playing it on it. No, I take it back. I love playing on it when I'm not used to it. Like when I just pop up to that very large mouthpiece, it feels great, and I love the sound of it. But when I get used to it, it just feels like too much air is going through, too much. It just feels like playing on a bathtub. But it doesn't make sense. It just, I don't know. It feels weird. Like too much is going through. I like to have a little bit of, I think maybe that's the back pressure. I like it to be a little snappier than that, but it doesn't have to be like super ultra zippy. Because I think 95% of that is just what you're doing on the horn. So, when they say that this guy could play in, he could play into a funnel and sound like that, it's like, I think there's a lot to that, because there's a lot going on this side of the trumpet that makes it do what we're trying to get it to do. And so when we're kind of optimizing these different aspects, and this isn't even everything. You can get so nitpicky with this stuff and then optimize all of it as much as you can, and then strengthen all of these different components. Like, you can strengthen all of these muscles. Like, just using the muscles as good as you can will probably get you above high C to a G without a whole lot of pressure. And then you can start exercising your pushing muscles, exercising your tongue, exercising your lip muscles, do lip buzzing and things, depending on how you play, and get even better results. So that's kind of the fun part of it. It's like there's so much you can tweak with, there's so much involved, and there's so much you can do, and then there's so much that you can optimize about each of those things. And then, yeah, a lot of people optimize equipment too. But I think you get the best result when you optimize the equipment after you've optimized, or at least at the same time as when you're optimizing these other aspects of the playing. Okay, so if you pick a smaller mouthpiece, don't now get lazy with your stomach, or because let's say you do all that work to get good, and you can do everything that you want, and now you get a smaller mouthpiece or something. It takes kind of the edge away from how hard you have to work, but then you start getting lazy and not continually developing these muscles. Well, then you're going the wrong direction. Then you're going to start getting weaker. So it's not that. It's just kind of relying on yourself and not relying on equipment is what I would say. If that makes sense. Although you couldn't do much without any equipment. It's like, what are you gonna go to the gig and just to the audience? I need to lock away my collection so I don't feel tempted to switch around all the time. Lol. Yeah, no, I know. And I've been up in the air about that too. On the one hand, it's like, what do you want to get good at? You want to spend your time getting good at the different equipment, or do you want to spend your time getting good at the coordination stuff? And I don't know, because I mean, a lot of people switch up mouthpieces, but it's more in the context of, well, now I have to do this radically different thing over here where I'm playing lead, and they've kind of optimized everything they're doing on this setup, and everything's kind of optimized for that thing. And then they have to go over here and play in an orchestra or a symphony, and they have this sort of thing over here optimized, but it's usually optimized to the sound that they want, not necessarily to the range that they want, So, and I could see that a little bit. It's like, if I wanted to optimize the screechiness of my tone, I could see doing that. But I've been complimented on my tone so much on this mouthpiece, and trumpet, that I don't really want to change it, because I never really cared to be the scream screech sounding guy on anything that I'm doing. I mean, maybe, but I kind of like just sort of like singing over top of the group. But I can kind of see optimizing that. But I feel like I'm sort of optimized on tone, and then I work on optimizing the range, because I got the sound that I want. Some people do it the other way. They optimize their range, and then they work on tone. Or they don't work on tone, they sound like garbage. So it's an interesting conversation. All right. Well, very good. I'm going to do a warm down. You guys have a fantastic night. And thanks for all the support over all these years. Couldn't have done it with you and the 900 robots that have subscribed to me. Thank you to them as well. Especially the bots. Not especially the bots, you have to have some of the bots. Like, you wouldn't hit 1,000 without a whole bunch of bots. Like, you just can't hit 1,000 without the bots. You just can't. You need the bots. It's a symbiosis sort of relationship. It's a symbiotic relationship. It's like the bots give you the views and the clicks and the subscriber counts, and then you get a couple people mixed in there, and then you're able to like interact. Like, it's all good, but it's the symbiosis that we have with the machines that are going to take us over. No, machines will never take us over. They're so stupid. Like, even the AI chat stuff, come on. My 10th grader can come up with stuff better than that. Like, way better. My 10th, did I say 10th grader? I mean 10-year-old. I don't have a 10th grader. All right, I'm really going to warm down now. So you guys have a good night. Bye. You should take my collection for a month so I can get better at methodologies, and you can see if you like fancy mouthpieces. That's not a... I don't know. Because then that would wreck me. Because I would do it. I'd be like, oh, look at all these different things. Look at these shiny... I don't know. I can see it both ways because I've thought both things before, And I've also thought about it like, if you give somebody different or new equipment, like, they'll practice on it. And in a lot of cases, them practicing on it is better than them doing nothing, But the other thing is, like, I don't really know how a mouthpiece works until I've been on it for a month or two, Like, I know how my 3C works. I'm intimately familiar with my 3C because I've played my 3C on gigs, paid and otherwise. I've played on it daily for years. I know how a 3C works. I know how this mouthpiece works. I like this mouthpiece for a lot of things, and I'm pretty familiar with the Schilke because I used to play on it, and so I know how that one works. But I don't know. I'm still not. I don't know. Because I've done it to where I've switched and I've had really, really terrible results just for switching. But it was also during a time where I wasn't maximizing everything. So it's like, if you're maximizing everything and you're trying out equipment at the same time, I don't know. Because I've also had times where I've just switched off between 7 different mouthpieces in one daily routine, and just every exercise I would switch, and I would just get used to all of them for all the exercises, and I did that every day, and it's kind of fun to do. But I'm working on the fundamentals, and then it just works on whatever I put in front of it, So it's like, is it even worth switching up at that point? I don't know. But I don't know. Oh, hold on. 2 things just happened. Like, I was just going to warm down, like, for real. If somebody has a question in the chat, for sure, just let me know. Not only have we hit 1,000 subscribers, 900 of which are bots, but we just hit the 2-hour mark for the live stream tonight, and we hit our peak viewership. We have 6 people right now live. Insane. This is record-breaking stuff, and there are already 6 likes. This is to you guys. Thank you guys. It's probably my mom and my wife. And Aiden, of course. I'm going to keep warming. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Stop. We just hit 7 likes. Unprecedented. The most of the day. I got to get a bell. Like one of those bells. Oh my gosh. This is insane. This is unprecedented. I got to hit something different. Hang on. We just hit 8 likes every. Nope, don't do that. What can I hit? Oh, 8 likes, people. This is insane. Now, let's be fair. 5 of them were from the bots. They just do that. It's that symbiotic relationship. They just hit likes and stuff. But we're at 8, everybody. 5 of them were the bots liking it. But still, that's pretty cool. The bots don't usually give me this much attention. So it's wild. But I am gonna warm down. I gotta warm down. But thank you, the real people, and thank you, the bots, for all your support. This is insane. I've never had 1,000 subscribers before. So that's like 90 real people. That's 10 family members and 900 bots. Like this is I'm so grateful. If I get my I can't monetize yet. This is not monetized. I can't monetize till I hit I gotta get like how many view hours? It's a ton. And I'll never hit that. Like the bots never hang on. They never hang out long enough to like give me that many views. Like it just doesn't happen. Okay. So this I doubt it'll get monetized. I don't think I'll ever get that many view hours. But we have hit 1,000 subscribers, 900 bots. That's 90 real people, 10 family members, and 900. No, I should say that differently. That's 90. That's 90 real people, 9 family members, and 900 robots. And then we just had 1 more person subscribe. And so this is insane. And here we are. I gotta warm down for real though. I can't believe whoever was in here who like showed up and then they didn't like anything at all. And then they're like, oh, let's just screw with him to get him to hit his water bottle with the mouthpiece again. And let's just do another like real quick. Thanks. Because that means you came in here not liking anything, or it was like bot programming. It was probably a bot. Because no real person would have done that if we're being real. Like that was totally bot action. Because a bot, it's like listening to the vocals. It's like, oh, like and subscribe, and then bot would just like computing and do it. That's what happened. So anyway, the 9 family members. Well, there's 6 people here. That means it's my mom, a student of mine, my wife. I don't know what the other 3 people, and then 3 bots. That's what it is. What is this? It was me. I didn't know you could like a stream. Oh, isn't this sad? My own student. Gosh, dang it. Thanks, Aiden. Yeah, I'm blaming bots. Well, thanks, Aiden. I appreciate that. All right, I'm really gonna warm down. Whoa. Hold the phone, people. We just had the highest peak viewership of the night. I don't know if that's the right word. Do you say viewership? Like this is the most viewers we've had on the stream all evening. This is insane. There were 7 people here. Okay, no. 3 bots, my mom, my wife, a student of mine, and we just hit 7. This is insane. But that does mean that somebody just came in here and didn't give me a like, which it's fine. I don't care if you like. Give me it. I don't care. They're just numbers. But anyway, ring the bell on that one. I'm thirsty. It's really good. If you want to hear me play, just go back to the last couple hours ago. It's not like I even played stuff that great. It was more like, because I'm not really trying to perform right now. I'm just like trying to give an idea of the specific things that I'm working on: air column, open throat, tongue positioning. It's like I'm saying, if you can make your tongue spit the air straight out in the mouthpiece, it's like you don't even need to. No, weird. You can just. And your tongue's doing all the work for you. You can relieve so much pressure. Oh my gosh. We got 9 likes. This is crazy. Ringing the bell, everybody. 9 likes, 7 viewers. Unprecedented. This is insane. I want to thank all the robots that have showed up. Oh my gosh. We were already at 9, weren't we? Because this number went down and I think this number went up. I can't remember if I hit the bell for that. Anyway, I'm warming down now, for real. Now you're just using fake accounts. Now, it's my mom, it's my wife. My mom made a fake account, student of mine, and 4 bots. Like that's what this is. Let's be real. And I'm not even watching my own video. Maybe I should watch my own video. No, it's ridiculous. They're just numbers. You know, it's not even. No, it's not 8. You're being okay. Everybody knows that everybody has 5 different accounts, and I know you're just being ridiculous right now. Thanks, Aiden. Thanks for going on 3 different devices. Whatever. Oh my gosh, you're being crazy. This means that he got his phone and he's watching it. He got his laptop and he's watching it. He borrowed his mom's phone and he's watching it. He probably has a desktop. Like that's what this is. But it's still a new record, so we have to hit the bell. I mean, it's a nightly record on a record-breaking evening. We're hitting the bell. 9 likes. What does that say? Proud bot, totally. 7. It's 5 bots. My mom, my wife, and how many is that? And 2 students. Oh, that just went away. Maya. That's funny. Hello, Isaiah. Hello, Maya. But for real, I got to warm down. But this is unprecedented. This is insane. Thank you for all the people and the robots and my mom and my wife and my 3 students. And we couldn't do this without you. But I do got to warm down now. So that's what I'm going to do. Spider-Man? Yeah, okay. Spider-Man. Shh. Ridiculous. We have a Marvel Avenger in our chat box. I guess he took the night off from saving people. Oh, next time we'll do a video about um, how to practice the trumpet late at night and how to not get the police called on you. Also, it'll be like a two-parter. It'll be that, and then it'll be like how to bake cookies. You know, how to adjust your neighbor and how to make cookies. And I'll show you how we weave those two topics together. It'll make sense after we chat about it. So for next time. Oh, it's spiking again. That means that, well, we know what it means. So the warm down is just kind of a feel thing. It's like if you can play, if your center is relaxed, the swelling's starting to go down. If you can play softly and the tone and everything's still speaking, you know, everything's gonna start feeling better. I do a lot of that too. But once everything's feeling good, that's sort of the goal of the warm down. You know, it's vibration. And it's blood flow, and I'm still using corners, but I want that middle I want the swelling to start going down and for it to sort of start to relax and to be able to play soft notes. Without the tone breaking when I move it. So it's kind of a feel thing, but that's kind of what I'm going for with the warm down. Similar to a warm up, but just going in the opposite direction. Just kind of massaging the lips, making them feel good. But it's a good way to kind of offset all the high pressurized compression stuff that I was doing earlier. So thanks for hanging out. You guys enjoy your evening, and we'll have to do this again in a couple years. We'll talk to you later. Goodbye. I just hit end stream. But then it's like, your stream will stop immediately and you will no longer be live. That's why I hit end stream. Stupid. I mean, thanks, YouTube. Just in case I didn't. See, now I can click not yet. See? Not yet. Now I can just hang out longer. Yeah. I didn't really want to end stream. Oh, I'll do it again. End stream. I gotta hit the red button if I want it. But I could not. No, not yet. It's like, nah, do you really want to? Do you really want to end the stream? Nah, don't you just want to keep streaming? You would think that they'd be encouraging of just like keeping streamers from streaming, because isn't this using like their storage units? Like that uses electricity. Like, are they really not hurting? They can just keep this up there, upload it, store it. Like that's not hurting them any. It's not like they're getting much out of it. Jeepers. I'm not like I'm not like their who's a popular YouTuber. I'm not Isaiah. Jeepers. God. Anyway. All right. Leave them for real. You guys have a good evening. Happy 1000, everybody. Happy spring break. We'll see y'all probably next week, most of you, because I'm assuming you're students, except for the bots. The bots, I'll see you just like all the time. Goodbye.